Made a video about this a few days ago. Said that he was going past it. He already uh, Cheeto Cheeto Trump promised that he would sign the bill, um, but apparently one dude stepped up. Um, let's see. Let's check this out real quick before we get in this story.
He and his mother curled up together. The measure has more than the Senate has approved a $19 billion disaster aid package. It now goes to the House. The measure has more than doubled in size since the House first addressed this last year. It would allocate almost $1.5 billion for Puerto Rico, the most since it was devastated by Hurricanes Irma and Maria in 2017. Also money for U.S. southern states suffering from last fall's hurricanes, Midwestern states deluged with springtime floods, and fire-ravaged rural California. It does not include $4.5 billion requested by the president to handle migrants at the southern border. He said this afternoon he will get that immigration money later. Severe weather has terrorized parts of the Midwest and the plains this week, and it may not be over. More today. What was described as a violent tornado ripped through Missouri's capital city, and flooding remains a major problem in Oklahoma. Correspondent Matt Finn is in Jefferson City, Missouri tonight.
Oh, praise the Heavenly Father.
This evening, 3 people are dead in Missouri and hundreds are returning to damaged or obliterated houses and businesses after powerful tornadoes ripped through the region. In one of the hardest hit areas of Jefferson City, one young man says he and his mother curled up together and prepared for the worst.
Once the house started shaking and all that, all we said was love you, love you, love you, because you can't say you love you enough until it's, you're gone.
A mother says she fought tears to be strong in front of her daughter and ran with her into the bathroom.
Amazing. Like, nothing matters. Like, everything is, I don't care about any of this crap. Like, I'm just happy that we're okay.
Missouri Governor Mike Parson asking for the nation's prayers for the at least 3 dead near Golden City, Missouri, while saying he's grateful there were no deaths from the devastating tornado that ripped through parts of the capital city.
Thank goodness there's plenty of people doing everything they could to warn people, the general public, to take safety, and a lot of people did.
Many states in the southern plains and Midwest are not in the clear. The forecast calls for more potential tornado outbreaks from Texas to New York. The Missouri River is expected to crest at 9 feet above stage level north of Jefferson City, and the National Guard tells Fox News the flooded Mississippi River will be closed to commerce and recreation near St. Louis.
And Brett, happening right now, not every neighborhood like this one has been cleared, so search and rescue crews are still going door to door looking for survivors. Brett.
Matt Finn live in Jefferson City. Matt, thanks.
So back to this story here. This 19 billion in disaster bill demonstrates the power of one. See that? Go ahead, look. I'm gonna read this. All right. Well, consider the state of $19.1 billion disaster bill. It took a Herculean effort, right? Herculean effort to pry that package loose Thursday in the Senate, triggering an overwhelming 85-8 vote. President Trump signaled to Senate Appropriations Committee Chairman Richard Shelby, Republican of Atlanta, and Senator David, see that? Oh shit. David Perdue, Republican of Georgia, they would sign the package even without provisions for the border. The senators say that the president indicated the disaster money was too important and had been stalled for too long. States in the South and Midwest stricken by hurricanes and flooding could wait no longer. That's until Representative Chip Roy, Republican from Texas, torpedoed everything Friday morning. He said that, well, let's see, he didn't say anything. There are 3 ways the House and Senate can approve bills. You can conduct a standard roll call vote where everyone either casts ballots as yay or nay. The House and Senate can hold a voice vote. That's where everyone either hollers yay or nay. The loudest side is supposed to win. However, the lawmaker who is presiding, presiding anyways, declares, he says, quote, in the opinion of the chair and the ayes have it, or the noes have it, end quote. But if the losing side doesn't like the outcome, they can always demand a recorded vote. Finally, there is, quote, a unanimous consent, unquote. I made my video about that. That's the title of my video that I made a few days ago about this. That's where all 435 or 100 people must agree. All it takes is a solitary objection. A solitary objection, even if everyone else wants to do something else. Lodging in an objection stops everything. So if you put in an objection, it stops everything. It says lone GOP or government of the people Republican or representative, blocks disaster aid bill in surprise move. It is said you can make the sun rise in the west if you obtain unanimous consent. Well, isn't that nice? This is where Roy comes in. There were only 3 House members on the floor Friday when the House tried to advance the disaster aid measure by unanimous consent and sync up with the Senate. Representative John McGovern, a Democrat of Massachusetts, presided over the session. Representative Donna Shalala, a Democratic from Florida, was on the floor to make the unanimous consent request. And then there was Roy. Those in favor of the measure outnumbered Roy 2-1. Unanimous consent is powerful, but hard to obtain. There's only one reason Roy showed up Friday morning at the House, attempted to approve the measure with a skeleton staff on hand. Passing the package on unanimous consent would mean the House and Senate would, in alignment, having okayed the same package. The measure would then be ready for President Trump's signature. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, a Republican from California, implored Democrat leaders to keep the House in session on Thursday to approve the disaster aid measure. But the House wasn't going to budge until the Senate acted. Most House members jetted out of Washington's midday Thursday of the week, a week and a half starting the Memorial Day recess. So nobody was fucking there. They're about to pass this law and nobody was there because motherfuckers burnt off. It was unclear until early Thursday afternoon as to the fate of the disaster package. Some Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky, warned his colleagues the Senate would vote on something on disaster aid and not adjourn. The Senate pondered re-voting a sidetracked version of disaster aid, which fell apart in early April, but the Senate was set to vote on the retooled plan once President Trump signaled he would sign the measure. Even without the border provisions, Things came together very quickly in the Senate, but the House was long gone. And this is a long ass story. Well, it's not that long. Let's finish it up here. I don't know who the fuck this dude is. I'm not gonna play this. One may ask whether it would have been worthwhile to keep the House in session just to see if the Senate would act. Of course, there's always a grandstanding for lawmakers about such efforts. Lawmakers regularly triumph when Congress should remain in session over the recess or a weekend to try and fix one issue or another. Those are often the same lawmakers who have a cab idling just outside the Capitol, ready to whisk them across the river to make a flight at Reagan National Airport. The Memorial Day recess is particularly problematic for scheduling. Many members have big overseas work trip planned. A number of lawmakers are expected to go to Normandy, France in a few days for 75th anniversary of D-Day. That's to say nothing of lawmakers who are jetting back to their states and districts to participate in Memorial Day parades and visit ceremonies. Tethering lawmakers to Washington for a day or two without a clear idea that a consequential vote is coming presents a problem. Yes, the Senate approved the disaster bill after the House abandoned Washington, but it was far from clear that senators would do that Thursday. So the disaster measure is now stalled again. Roy chatted briefly with Shala on the House floor just before the session started Friday morning. Quote, He came up to graciously inform me he was going to object because he wanted the president's border request to be included, said Sha'ala. I don't know. Okay. Sha'ala. This is not the way our government should work. We're ready to work in the House in a bipartisan way, the same as the Senate was ready to go. One individual, his position is irresponsible. Sha'ala characterized the turn of events as tragic. She worried about the additional delays for families trying to recover. Why should they have to wait a week longer because some members of Congress objected? Asked the Florida Democrat. Of course, the question is whether Roy simply delayed the inevitable, but the House wouldn't return to full action until June the 4th. The House appears to have the votes to pass the plan in a bipartisan fashion. This is irresponsible swamp sneak. This is respectfully swamp speak. Delaying the inevitable. It's the inevitability of DC, the inevitability of spending where we don't speak up and voice the concerns that I hear when I go back to every town in Texas 21, says Roy. Why aren't we addressing disaster spending in a way that is financially responsible? We just keep writing checks. Roy got an earful from Florida Agricultural Commissioner Kiki Fried. Yeah, you're gonna be fried, all right. It's caravan shameful politics. It's caravan shameful politics as it worse that a single house. And it's worse that a single House member would choose to further delay disaster relief, protested Fried. Congressman Roy must have forgotten the aid that Texas received after Hurricane Harvey, but is passage of the bill inevitable? simply delayed. So it is said that house guests and it is said that house guests and fish start to smell after 3 days. Consider the controversy which stymied that disaster package. Republicans tried to infuse a bill with presidential politics. They argued Senate Democrats running for president should vote yes or face trouble in Sodden, Iowa area of the Caucasus. Excuse me. Republicans contended Democrats played politics with Puerto Rico money. There were objections. There were questions about what a stunted disaster bill would mean for sins. Junie E. Ernest, a Republican from Iowa, Ben Sess, a Republican from Nebraska, and John Cornerian, Republican from Texas, and Purdue, all face re-election bids in states desperate for disaster assistance. All could face competitive races. Ernest is in a battleground state. Texas and Georgia are traditionally slightly toward Democrat. Then there were issues about being humanitarian, about adding humanitarian provisions for the border. All things settled with the legislation. Are things settled with the legislation, or will another impediment possibly expose the bill to political enemies ready to file the legislation? So I'm not going to read the rest of this, but you get the point. Let's go back to the topic here. GOP lawmaker delays of $19 billion disaster bill, right? Demonstrates the power of one. See that? Shalom.